Kia ora, good evening, and welcome to the Huddy Hui episode 131. And what a brilliant weekend it was, seeing Wellington take out top spot in the NPC and booking their place for a home quarter final this Friday. We'll talk about that later on. But our first guest on the Huddy Hui, our guest tonight, I should say, on the Huddy Hui, previously played his club footy here in the capital city, and he has moved up to Auckland this season. George Sims is our guest on the Huddy Hui tonight. George, many thanks for coming on the show. This season, what has your post-season been like since club rugby finished in Auckland?
Oh yeah, g'day Brad. Thanks for having me. So post-season has been an interesting one. So we finished up our season. We made the final up here, and was lucky enough to play at Eden Park in the final and got absolutely pumped. So that wasn't so good. But post-season ended up missing out on rep footy up here, and then ended up getting called in like the day before the game for the Auckland Bees team, and had a game there, and then buggered my rib, and ended up not playing for 4 weeks, and then got called back into the Auckland Bees side for the remaining 3 weeks of their season. So yeah, it's been a bit of an up and down off season in terms of that. So it's kind of been a little bit stop start. And yeah, the season's still kind of going for us here. We're off to a tens tournament in Malaysia in a couple of weeks. So yeah, the season just seems to keep on dragging on, stopping and starting. So yeah, but it's been good. Still keeping fit and whatnot. So yeah.
That tens tournament, is that a club team or is that an Auckland selection team?
Yeah, so that's a club team. So Pakuranga, who I play for up here, is taking a team over to Malaysia to Kuala Lumpur to play in the Cobra Tens tournament. So yeah, that should be a good bit of fun. I think it's a couple of days of code over there, over one weekend at the start of November. So yeah, should be a good bit of fun. I've got a week or so away there. So yeah.
As you mentioned, you moved to Auckland this season and played for Pakuranga. Why the move to the city of sales in 2024?
Just sort of life, I guess. So yeah, had a few years obviously at Tawa since I left school down in Wellington, and yeah, sort of a few got a few good seasons of rugby in, and then wanted to move somewhere just I guess for a fresh start. So I moved over to Ireland at the end of last season, and then played over there for 6 months over in Dublin, and then just sort of saw this as an opportunity for a bit of a fresh start, and I guess sort of life took me up here, better job opportunities and whatnot for the industry I'm in. So yeah, and then Pakuranga just sent me a message, hit me up and said, do you want to come play for us? And I took a bit of a gamble and it turned out to be pretty good. So yeah.
You mentioned you spent 6 months in Ireland at the end of last year. How was your time in Ireland and rugby over there?
Yeah, it was good. Thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, the level of rugby I was playing at wasn't a super high level. It was a good level, but yeah, it was good. It was an awesome culture they've got over there. So I arrived there the week of our quarter final against Ireland at the World Cup, and I've genuinely never seen people in the rugby community so excited about a game of rugby. Like the Irish fellas over there were just going off the walls about this game, this quarterfinal. So it was, it was a bit of a smug moment for me being able to laugh in their faces after the quarterfinal victory. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. The environment was really good. It was good for some personal development and good for the confidence and whatnot on the footy field. So yeah, it was really cool.
How have you found the lifestyle in Auckland, and plus what is your work up there?
Yeah, so the lifestyle's good. It's a bit of a change. It's a bit warmer up here, maybe a little bit wetter, but it's a bit warmer. Didn't have too many games of rugby in the rain this year, which was good. But yeah, the lifestyle's cool. There's a lot more going on up here than there is in Wellington. I mean, Wellington's always home for me, so I spent a weekend back in Wellington. The weekend I bumped into you at the first 15 final, and yeah, Wellington will always be home, but yeah, the lifestyle up here is pretty cool. Just a lot more going on. Good group of mates up here as well. around the footy scene and stuff. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, work for me. So I work at Just Another Fisherman, which is a clothing brand based up here in Auckland. So yeah, I do like social media. I manage the social media for that, and yeah, just do a bunch of design stuff around the office and yeah, help out where I can.
Oh, fantastic! That's good to see because you were originally one of your side hobbies. You had your own clothing company. Is that still going? Is it?
Yeah, here and there. I mean, it's always on the bit of the back burner. It's something I'd love to pursue a bit more in the future. So I sort of tried to get into that and got it going, and definitely did all right out of it. But just time and effort wasn't able to be applied too much as life went on. So, but it's definitely a goal of mine one day to get that back up and running properly. And it's pretty. I was pretty keen to do it, get it back up and going at the end of this year, but just with the economic climate and what we're in and what I'm seeing in the fashion industry at the moment, it's definitely not the time to start up and get and start something and get going. It's pretty tough out there, but yeah, one day we'll see what happens.
Pakuranga this season. You mentioned you got to the Gallagher Shield final. Fortunately, went down to Hotsonby in the final. What were the learnings from that final?
Oh, wow. What were the learnings? There was a lot of learnings to take away from that. The main learning, I would say, is just wanting it more. We'll probably be lucky enough to have a very similar group again back next year, if not everyone back next year in our Prem side. So just getting a taste of that finals footy. A lot of boys hadn't really had a taste in big moment games. Obviously, there was the finals games with the quarters. Oh, sorry, we didn't play a quarter, just the semi. And a bunch of other games during the season where there was a lot of big high pressure moments, but a lot of the boys haven't played like finals footy and stuff before. So probably taking away those learnings of just being able to really apply yourself and zone in on the job at hand when you're there. I think a lot of the boys let the occasion get the better of themselves. It was a big moment playing at Eden Park and obviously in front of a bigger crowd, and it's a bit of a spectacle and occasion for a lot of boys, a dream come true as well. So yeah, just taking away those learnings of being able to apply yourself and really zone in and lock in on the job at hand. So yeah, I think I mean it was a tough pill to swallow. We got pumped, so and Ponies were definitely the better team on the day. Like I have no doubt about that. We played them earlier on in the season, and they did pretty much the same thing as they did to us in the first 40 minutes of that game as they did in the final. But yeah, I think we possibly took a bit too much confidence into it, thinking that we were, the underdogs. Oh yeah, we can really cause a big upset here and whatever, and then just it was all a bit of a downward slope as soon as the foot got put on the throat. But yeah, there's a lot of learnings, and yeah, the boys will definitely be able to apply that into footy next year, which will be good.
You mentioned your club you got to the final, but it's been a pretty strong year for the club all around. Now, how cool was it to see the under 85 Black Panther team win the National Cup title 2 weeks ago?
Oh, it was epic, Brad. Oh, it was epic. I loved watching that. I was up screaming at my TV. Obviously, you would have watched the game. So the last 10 minutes. Oh, I don't think I've watched a game and been that into it or passionate about wanting someone to win in a long time. It was pretty awesome to see, and yeah, the boys certainly did pack proud, and to go the whole season undefeated, and with literally the same team as they had the whole season. Like I know you watched that Pōneke game, and obviously the Wanderers had a few ring-ins to try and get them over the line, but that Pakuranga team, the only ring-in they had was my mate the Rizzler, Riley Harrison. and he played for us in the Prems all year, but was kind of in and out of the starting lineup. So not really. He was involved heavily in some games, but not so heavily in other games. And he just took his opportunities with those 85s and ran with it to kick 2 match-winning goals 2 weeks in a row. The first one maybe not so hard, but the second one, mate, to get them over the line in that final, it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
You've had a pretty good year up in Auckland with Pakuranga there, George. You've also been one of the co-captains of the side, and also you were named as the club player of the year for the club. How special was it for those 2 moments for you in your first year in Auckland rugby?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I came in here, like, as I mentioned before, pretty blind. Like, Pakuranga hadn't been doing super well historically over the last sort of 10 years. It had been 10 years since they'd made a Gallagher Shield final, and that was when they had the likes of Malakai Fekitoa. I don't think Charles Piatel played for them that day, but I think Tony Ingshu played for them that day. One of our coaches, Dwayne Polai played for them that day. He's a recently retired Super Rugby player. So they had a pretty stacked team, and a lot of young guns in that team that have gone on to make higher honours. So yeah, historically since then we haven't done super well. So I just took a bit of a gamble, and it seemed to pay off. Our coaches are pretty awesome. So I mentioned Dwayne. We've got Grant Henson, who's the one that reached out to me at the start of the year to get me over to Pakuranga. He has played years for the Steelers and coached the Steelers for 10 years alongside his mate Glenn Rowe, who's our other coach. So yeah, like awesome coaching setup. So yeah, it was pretty cool to have that moment. Admittedly, it wasn't Club Player of the Year. It was just Premier Player of the Year. Club Player of the Year went to the skipper before he left before me. So our captain Sione Takai got selected in the Tonga squad for the Pacific Championship or whatever it's called. So he was named Club Player of the Year, well deservingly. He's an awesome loose forward who's a very well-rounded player, and spent a bit of time with Moana Pacifica at the start of the year as well. So yeah, he was Club Player of the Year. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool to come into the club and be able to take on a good leadership role and get a bit of acknowledgement for it as well.
How was club rugby in Auckland different to that of Wellington?
That's a really good question. I find up here I mean, club rugby in Wellington, as you know, watching a lot of it, is pretty physical, and at times it can be really, really quick and ruthless. But I think club rugby up here is physical, fast, and you've got a whole bunch of razzle dazzle involved in it as well. So there's a lot of influence up here. Like, it's vastly more Pacific Island influenced up here, just demographically, with clubs and stuff like that, than it would be in Wellington. So you've got big, strong boys who are quick, can move, and really athletic. So it's tough. I think it's a bit more physically demanding up here. And obviously, being a little skinny white boy, it has its challenges at times. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and it's certainly been really good for my rugby. Bit of a change to coming off a season in Ireland where it was only playing pretty much skinny white boys all season. So yeah, it was a bit of a shock getting back here to New Zealand. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. Yeah.
Your role as a halfback, what are your strengths, and do you model your game on a particular player?
That's a great question, Brad. What are my particular strengths? I would think getting around the field and being mobile, getting ruck to ruck is definitely one of my strengths. I thought leading up until this season, my pass was one of my strengths, but it had proven this season that it needed a lot of work in terms of just accuracy and getting the ball to hand fast. So I've been trying to do a lot of work on that. and obviously that's a key skill as a halfback. So you need to have that under control. But yeah, getting around the field, moving the ball fast. I think my kicking game, being able to kick from the base of a ruck, really flourished this year, and I would say that's a lot due to the fact of having a season up in Ireland, being pushed to kick and being pushed to kick well and be on the money up there really helped my kicking game develop and flourish here, I guess. Back in Wellington, I reckon I would have box kicked under 10 times a season. It's just not something really we do here in New Zealand, let alone in Wellington. And I was able to bring that into our tactical game up here for Pakuranga, and we really were the only club up here that sort of kicked from the base of the ruck or used that as a weapon, and it certainly paid off in crunch moments in some games as well. So just being able to use that as a foot on the throat pressure method and put up contestable kicks and get us out of trouble and stuff like that. So that's something that's definitely been a strength of my game. But yeah, things like that. I think goal kicking as well is lucky enough to be able to take the reins with that this year, having not really much of an opportunity down in Wellington to do so. But yeah, take the reins of that this year and get us out of some sticky situations in a couple of games with that. So that was good.
How accurate was your goal kicking this season? Because you did a fair bit of it while you were at college as well too.
Yeah, I did a wee bit while I was at college here and there. I've always wanted to be a goal kicker, Brad, and I've always had that in the back pocket. But I've never really, when it came to sort of more high level rugby, never really had the opportunity to do that, and never really put my hand up too much to do it. Just have let other boys do it. And then this year had a few kicking sessions with one of the coaches who's one of Grant Henson's mates from the Kubota Spears. I believe, Kubota Spears. Oh, I feel like I've got that wrong. But one of the Japanese top league sides come down and do a kicking session with a few of us at Pakuranga, and and managed to impress him. And he told the coaches, "Oh, you should be giving this guy a go off the tee." So I think from sort of the back half of the season onwards, took the reins of that and managed to be relatively accurate. I don't think there was too many misses going around, but yeah.
You started your rugby all the way back at Wests. Who coached you during those early days of junior rugby, and were you a halfback before college?
Nah, so my old man actually was the one who started coaching me back at West, way back in the day when I was just a young fella. So the old man was coaching me. He sort of I think he coached me all the way through till under 12s maybe, and then a couple mates' dads coached us in under 13s. And then no, I was never really a halfback. So I played in the forwards pretty much up until under 12s. Played hooker. Played for a few Wellington rep teams as a hooker. When I was 11, 12, 11 and 12. And then I sort of shifted into the backs, and I couldn't tell you why I wanted to be a halfback, but just ended up there and played there when I was in under 13s. And then, I think when I got to college, I think I played 9 and 10 for the under 15s when I was year 9. And then, just sort of 9 and 10 all the way up until year 12. And then was pretty much just a 9 from there out,
Wellington College is where you attended school. How was your time there at Dub C?
Yeah, it was good. Really, really good. I went there because I wanted to be there with my mates, not so much because of rugby or anything. Going into Cole at the time I went into, obviously the rugby was really strong with the likes of Naitoa, Akoi and Tane, Plumtree, and the Sopawanga boys just having come through. So it was a pretty, Wellington College was in a pretty good place rugby wise. So that was always a bonus. Rugby was definitely something I wanted to pursue when I was little, and it's still something I want to pursue now. So yeah, going into Wellington College was a good place to be. It was a good middle ground between good education, being with my mates from primary school, and then having a bit of code on the side there. But yeah, it's it was definitely a place I wanted to be.
You debuted at year 11 for the first 15. Do you remember who you debuted against?
I'm surprised you know that. I think I only played one game for the first 15 when I was year 11, and that was the last traditional that Wellington College has had against Christchurch boys. So we played against Christchurch boys on probably one of the worst days I've ever played rugby in. It was bucketing down with rain. I think the graveyard was probably 3 inches underwater. And yeah, played a very, very good Christchurch boys side, which I think had maybe 2 or 3 New Zealand schools players in that side. So coming in as like a little year 11 with not a huge amount of first 15 experience at all. It was pretty exciting. It was pretty nerve wracking. But yeah, it was cool to get on the park against like a pretty prestigious school like that. Yeah.
And you'll be pleased to note that that game's back on next year as well against Christchurch.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll get to watch my brother playing that hopefully, so that'll be cool. Yeah.
And you mentioned your brother Archie. He's like you, debuted at year 11, and he seems to be going pretty well. He's still got another year left at Cole.
Yeah. Seems to be going all right. Yeah, he would think he goes all right, hopefully. But yeah, no, he's had a fair bit more game time as a year 11 for the first 15 than I did, and he's been pretty lucky to have a really good environment and culture growing around sort of as he's progressed through. So obviously the fellas and Namir and Huddy and John Schwelger do a really good job there. And I a little bit envious of the setup they've got there at the moment. So hopefully they can go all right. Obviously the under 15 team from last year will be heavily involved in the first 15 next year, and they did really well at the national comp. They got second at the national comp last year or something. So
That's
I
right,
think they've got a really strong group coming through, and hopefully they can really make some moves next year and play some good footy.
Your 3 years in the first 15. Tell us about your time and what was your most memorable game in the first 15?
So I don't know if you can call it 3 years, maybe 2 years in one day. But yeah, it was cool. We had a good group in our first 15. Like, I think more than anything, not to be negative, but underwhelming would be a good word to describe my time in the first 15. We just had a lot of potential and a lot of really good players, some really good game breakers, dudes who probably, if they put their mind to it, could have been really, really awesome for us. But just, a lack of application probably let us down over the few years I was there. We didn't make the playoffs for the Wellington Premiership both years in that first 15. I think underwhelming, disappointing would be a couple of words that describe it, but I for sure had some awesome moments in that team. Probably the most memorable game or moment, I think that first St. Pat's traditional I played as a year 12 against St. Pat's Town out at Evans Bay. Looking up for the last 3 years looking up to the boys playing in the first 15 in those games, and just obviously having an immense amount of school pride, and that rivalry is just all amounts to a huge occasion, and it was a pretty cool moment being able to stand out there and do the haka and just be involved in that game, really. So yeah, I think probably that would be the most memorable moment. I mean, the game didn't end too well. I think we just got pipped at the end there, and we were pretty keen to win that one. So that one stung, but yeah, it was an awesome moment to be a part of.
You also were one of the co-captains of your year at last year at Wellington College, and also this year with the Pakuranga team. What have you learned about being a leader?
There's a lot of things I've learned about being a leader. At school, I was always sort of had been involved in like leadership stuff, with rugby specifically, and around the college and that. So I've always sort of been involved in that sort of thing, and then to come out of school, and I haven't really been involved in any sort of leadership stuff around rugby since I left school. So to come back into a role as a co-captain at Pakuranga was a lot of learning to do, because obviously leading boys around is a little bit different to leading men around, especially when you're still seem to be one of the youngest dudes in the team. So yeah, I've learned a lot of things. Being able to create relationships and friendships, while also having been able to hold a good amount of respect for yourself is probably a key part of that. I think since coming up here, since I moved into the co-captain role at Pakuranga, I've definitely made a lot better connections with people, and been able to create better friendships and stuff with boys, and same with relationships with coaches and stuff. So yeah, it's a good way to get a bit of respect for yourself, and be able to create relationships with people. So that's definitely something I've learned, and you've always got to be able to find common ground with someone, and be able to reach out and be able to be approachable as well. So yeah, it creates this thing in your mind where you've always got to be thinking about being that person that can be there for someone.
2021, how did the move to Tawa come about?
Another bit of a rogue one. My mate Jan Lammers, who plays for OBU, was up here over the weekend, and he said to me on Saturday night, he goes, "You really just pick the furthest away clubs to go to." So obviously, me being from this Wellington city and going out to Tawa is a bit of a hike, and then I actually live in central Auckland, so going out to Pakuranga is even more of a hike than going out to Tawa. So yeah, the move to Tawa was a bit of an odd one. So I just had got told that there was a need for someone to sit in behind Kim at Tawa, and I just thought that would be a pretty cool opportunity to go out there and learn off a guy that's played a lot of NPC and had Super Rugby experience, and also a old boy. So yeah, managed to just mosey along to a training in pre-season, and just never really left. I love the environment, I love the culture, I love the boys. So yeah, it was an awesome place to be in that 2021 season. Obviously, taking out Jubilee was an awesome way to start off the senior rugby career, I guess.
That experience of the Jubilee Cup final in 2021, winning that against a highly fancied Mara St. Pat's team, what was the experience like of that win for you?
Yeah, it was cool. I obviously was behind Kim most of that season, so I got my fair share of starts, but I definitely had to earn my stripes, and I got a more solid amount of game time than I expected in that final. I think I got 25-ish minutes at the end of the game, and was pretty cool. It was a pretty special moment to get on the field, and I just remember grinning from ear to ear pretty much all night after that win. And it was a pretty cool moment just to get out there and get on the paddock and be in a championship environment with the boys. Yeah.
44 games for the Tawa Premier side. What was your most memorable game out there?
Ooh, most memorable game. I don't know. Probably that Jubilee final. That will always be there. But if I had to pick another game, probably our Old Timers Day win in 2022 against OBU. I remember that was a shithouse day, and obviously OBU had a pretty strong side, and I remember that was probably the best rugby. I think someone said to me after that game, that's the best rugby they've ever seen a Tawa team play. So that was a pretty cool game to be a part of, and I think that was the day we celebrated like our 75th Jubilee or something.
That's correct.
That day as well.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool game to be a part of that day.
We also have representative honours in Wellington as well for age group sides at senior level. What teams did you play for, and what successes did you have of those Wellington teams?
So the first age group level proper Wellington team I played for would have been the under-13s team when they still had that around. I think we might have been maybe the second to last or third to last year they had that program running. So that was a pretty cool thing to be a part of back when I was a bit of a young buck, and then moved on to under 16s. I was in the development team, and what year would that have been? 2018, and then moved on to the under 19 group when I left school, and then was lucky enough to be a part of the Wellington Centurions stuff last year and the year before for the development side. I never got named in the sides, but got brought in pretty quickly. I think maybe in the first or second week of each campaign for both those campaigns, and then saw out the rep season with them there. So yeah.
What's your plans for the off season and for next year?
Plans for the off season. I'm really looking forward to enjoying a summer after not having a summer for about 2 years. Looking forward to seeing the sun up here in Auckland, and really just knuckling down on some work-ons and stuff like that. Obviously, as mentioned before, we've got that Malaysia trip, which will be a good bit of fun, and then that'll pretty much show us straight through into, I imagine we'll be starting pre-season not long after that, in sort of mid-November or December maybe for next year. So kick into that, have a good Christmas break, and then straight back into it after Christmas, I imagine, because us up here at Pakuranga, we've got a bit of unfinished business. So everyone's looking forward to getting a good off season in and prepping themselves well for the next year's season.
George, it's been fantastic having you on the Hui, and good to hear that you're doing well up in the city yourselves. All the best for the rest of the year and over in Malaysia, and we'll see you around the traps when you're next back in Wellington.
Cheers, Brad. I appreciate it. Good to have you on.
Thank you, George. That is George Sims, of course, product of Wellington College, doing extremely well up in Auckland, and it's good to hear from him about how he's been going with his rugby journey. Now, this week, Friday, we are bringing you the Hurricanes under-18s taking on the Crusaders under-18s from NZCIS. That's going to be at 12:30 p.m. live on Huddy Sports YouTube. Many thanks to Wellington Rugby and the Hurricanes. They asked us to do that game, so we're looking forward to that. Our coverage for that game will start around 12:15, so hopefully the weather's good out there. There's not much shelter out at NZCIS, but it's a great facility. And also Friday, our top of the table NPC team the Wellington Lions play host to Counties Manukau at Sky Stadium 7:05 on Friday. And, of course, there'll be a lot of feeling in that game, in particular after 2 weeks ago. The Wellington Lions got absolutely pummeled by Counties. So I imagine there'll be a bit of revenge on the cards for that one to try and book a home semi-final. So all to play for rugby-wise coming up towards the end of the regular season. As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Mike Pinfold Plumbing and Drain Lane Limited, Louise Reddy of New Zealand Travel Brokers, and Jean Hickton Funeral Directors. So if you need any plumbing, travel advice or funeral services, reach out to Mike, Louise and also Gavin and their teams. They do an extremely job and they help us to keep doing what we're doing here on Huddy Sports YouTube. And if you're willing to help sponsor us or whatever, or reach out for any events, head along to huddysports.co.nz or huddysportsnz@gmail.com, or find us on our socials on Facebook and Instagram. You can easily find us there as well. Well, one thing we are going to work on is we're going to, from all the games that we've covered this season on Huddy Sports, we're going to try and create a try of the year on Huddy Sports from all the different games that we have done. So we'll be looking forward. We might be one of those tries or moments. We'll have a look at those as well. And we'll try and get that out before the end of the Huddy Hui for the year. So that's been the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to George Sims for coming on the show. I'm Brad Hudson. Ciao for now.